Just got home from picking up this $40 1978 Sears Freespirit. As you can see, it is in pretty rough condition, but I'm sure we can fix that, or at least take some parts and use it for some other builds. The wiring has been tampered with quite a bit, so that's a fun mess. And this piston has been seized. There's no movement whatsoever in that. Everything inside needs to be messed with and rebuilt. The clutch actually is moving, so that's at least a good sign. After quite a bit of force, I was able to break this chain drive part free. It's at least moving now, although it's very, very sticky. It is moving and starting to get easier and easier, so that at least is the first sign of something's gonna happen with this bike. After soaking it in PB Blaster and just using a rubber mallet, we have finally been able to somewhat fix this. Let's see if I can get a video. It is broken free, but still need to get a cylinder and a lot of other stuff. By hand, I can go backwards, I can go forwards, and it all works. So this is at least a not seized engine now. But there is a lot of crud in here that needs to come out. You can't see in there, it is just full of just sediment and random stuff for sitting for about 30 years. Alright, I'm gonna try to get this unseized, the bicycle flywheel kind of. Oh, no way. It's going. It's going. Now it's starting to loosen up and get that click. Nice. All right, so we got a functioning bike side, functioning brakes. We have the crank shaft unseized. And yeah, so we'll see what we do next. After getting this headlight straight and actually this rear fender hole to line up, I went ahead and started working on the wiring. I actually took apart all the connections that were put together with duct tape and got all these bent back to the right position so that they can go into a new wire terminal and have a good connection there. I still need to extend and connect this ground wire here and then put, what's it called, some shrink wrap over. Same with this one. This wire needs to be shrink wrapped just so it's not going to fall apart. But wiring has been at least cleaned up a bit. To start shining up these wheels, I got one side of it pretty good. I just got to get the other side. But here's a before, as you can see, kind of clouded out and starting to rust in different little spots. And it turns to this like gloss mirror finish. So we're gonna get that done. Got this first wheel looking pretty much like brand new, at least the rim. Got all in between and everything. So this is a cleaned up one versus this one in the rear, where I have yet to touch it. You can see these little rust spots and pitting and just cloudiness overall. Pretty much just all I used. It's a little bit of steel wool and a bit of elbow grease. I actually want to change out this transmission fluid. Last night I had it soaking in PB Blaster. So let's see what's gonna come out. Kind of interested. Ooh. Straight PB Blaster. Yeah. Alright, well, let's have that drain out and fill it up with some new ATF. So we are just letting this flush out that PB Blaster with some simple ATF fluid. Just getting just a last little bit of sediment out, and then we're gonna fill this up and just move on to the next thing. After filling up that transmission fluid, I did notice a slow leak over time that was happening from this clutch cover side. When I went ahead and took off this cover, I noticed that this gasket was just mangled to shreds, and whoever installed it did not know how to do it correctly. So luckily, I have another transmission gasket. It's actually a used one from one of my other bikes. But I keep them around just in case something like this. But let me clean off this surface, get this newer old gasket on there, and see if that stops the leak. Now that I got this surface nice and clean, I was actually looking in here and you can kind of see the gears in there. And when I'm spinning, they all look very clean. So surprisingly, at least this side of the transmission was not covered in water. Everything looks really good and really smooth, so I'm actually really hopeful for this little engine rebuild. We got that reused gasket installed, but it's at least in one piece. We have both surface matings nice and clean, and I went ahead and wire wheeled the screws so that this clutch cover can sit nicely and hopefully not leak. It's been a couple hours since I've reinstalled this clutch cover and put a new gasket, and I'm not seeing any leaks whatsoever, so I think that gasket will hold up for now. I actually want to pull off this luggage rack and wire wheel it just to get that chrome shine back. And when I was looking back here, I noticed this screw in this bottom corner is not matching, but this screw actually goes in this hole. So let's flop this around after we get this cleaned up. Let's see if we can make this a little bit cleaner. Yeah, I just gotta keep doing this for a while and should shine up. About 20 minutes later of hand polishing, we got this back luggage rack looking really good. And we also went ahead and wire wheeled these screws so that they're not rusty anymore, and they're actually looking really good. We do have one missing in that bottom corner, but we have this rear fender now mounted up and it's looking good. So here's the head that came with the bike, and this also has been sitting outside for 30 or more years. Unfortunately, one of the fins has been chipped, which shouldn't really affect performance, but it is there. And as you can see, got that little Puch logo. So yeah, this needs to be cleaned up. So let's get that done. All right, after about 15 minutes with some more steel wool, we got this cleaned up pretty nicely. I think it's ready to go. Ended up going back and surfacing the head with 500 grit sandpaper just lightly so that the mating surface would be a little bit better for the head gasket. But yeah, this should be working out pretty well. While going through my parts bag over here of some OEM little nuts and bolts, I was able to actually locate a little M5 panhead screw, so that's put there and at least looking complete. It might not match the exact condition of the other ones, but it is the matching bolt, so that's at least put on. And while on eBay, I found a new Freespirit seat for this bike. It was actually 50 bucks, so it's cheaper to get a new seat than it was to get a reproduction seat cover. So that nicer conditioned seat will be coming. I'll be putting it on this bike. This seat will be swapped over here because this seat is currently just, it's actually, the welds are broken and the cover is completely gone. So that's just pretty much a lost cause at this point. So for the wiring, I have this ground wire extended and shrink wrapped, so that's all complete and good to go. I ended up finding an M5 bolt, so I was able to get this wire harness started to put back onto the bike. We have the ground wire hooked up as well that was just hanging off. So this main wire harness is good to go, as well as the wires coming off of the points in the stator in the E50 itself. We have these two wires that go back to the rear tail light, and this wire that goes to the Bosch spark coil. So everything is cleaned up. We just got to get a wire terminal off treats and a few other parts. So see you after that order comes in.